Dr. Debra Peppers. There you go. Isn't it strange that princes and kings and clowns that caper in sawdust rings and common folk like you and me, we're builders for eternity. For each is given a book of rules, a block of stone, and a bag of tools. And each must build ere time has flown a stumbling block or a stepping stone. So today we are building stepping stones for our children. The very first book that I wrote was when I was asked right after 9/11 to speak at the Crystal Cathedral Ladies Conference. It was international. And this is what I had to put on the back of my book. God said, take off the mask. We put on our little Sunday faces and we're happy and we're sassy. And so here's something I have to ask you. Have you ever experienced negativity, lack of confidence, depression, fear, worry, perfectionism, abuse, eating disorders, suicide attempts, relationship problems, drug and alcohol abuse, no hope for the future? Unfortunately, I experienced all of those, and I will not ever make excuses for that. But I do know, and here's what I wrote, no matter what you've been through or the obstacles of your past, I want you to see how God can turn failure inside out. And that's what he's done with many of you. And what he's done for one, he will do for another. So that is the greatest thing that I have to share with you, is that what's past is past. This is the present. Here's the future. And your past does not dictate what your future will be. My dad and mom did everything. So he heard that I was going to run away again for the third time. And this is what he wrote. My darling baby girl, I write this as you have threatened to run away again, and I'm leaving this on your pillow with the hopes that you'll get it before you leave. I know you're almost 17 now and a young woman, and we can't stop you from going. Your mom and I have asked ourselves 1,000 times where we went wrong, where we failed you. I wish we could go back to the days when you were daddy's little girl and you'd snuggle up on my lap to make all of your hurts and wounds better. I only blame myself for all that's gone wrong, and I'd give my very life for a chance to make it right again. I didn't see soon enough how much you were hurting. Mommy and I have prayed and cried for you more than you'll ever know. And we've asked ourselves over and over, were we too strict, too lenient, too giving, not giving enough? All I know is that we want you to please come talk to us no matter how late you come in tonight. Can't we just work it out one more time, Debbie girl? We love you with no strings attached. God brought you to us, and no matter what, you'll always be our precious baby girl. Always your loving daddy. My loving daddy was a World War II Navy pilot. He had been through all kinds of encounters, but he couldn't do anything with his baby girl. And he went to be with Jesus 2 years ago. And every time I read this, I just think of, in his older days, how he was getting, of course, dementia, and he wasn't able to walk very much. But whenever he would see me, he'd go, my baby girl. And when he would sit in the front row and I'd read that, some of you could have written that letter. Some of you may find yourselves in a place later on where you have similar thoughts, regrets, issues. The one thing that I promise you that you'll never ask is, did I spend too much time with my children? So if you'll get your yellow sheets out, this is the outline. You can take notes, or you can just listen and absorb and ask God how to use it for you and your family. Because this is the time where however you are led, you will learn you're blessed to be a blessing. The first thing is to walk a mile in their shoes. Put yourself way back, and for me it has to go way back to high school. But none of us were perfect. None of us had it totally easy. And we all have issues and problems. So the one thing that we do not have the experience of doing, that most kids today have social media. What kids see in 1 hour today on the internet is probably 100 times more than we've ever experienced by the time we'd even been through high school. There are 3 basic types of learning personalities, behavioral personalities, and they kind of go over and spill into 3 areas. Attention seekers, those who want to be in control, and those who need motivation. So there is a young lady out here that I met right before we came up here, and Sage said she would be willing to come up here with me. Now she's thinking, oh, did I say that? Come on down, Sage. Let's hear it for Sage, ladies and gentlemen. I said, this may be your first time on stage, Sage. And she said, nope, I've been here before, and you were on here as a
dancer.
So she's going to teach us all to dance. Everybody, no, I'm just kidding. Okay, has your mom or dad ever said to you, because I said so, that's why?
Yes.
Oh, we're going to get mom and dad here. Have they ever said to you, you go clean up your room right now, and I mean it?
Yes.
And you just immediately do it, and you never whine or backtalk, do you?
No.
Oh! Okay, there's 3 types of kids. One child always wants to have the center of attention, usually like a class clown. Where do you go to school?
Altoona.
Altoona. Do you have anybody, you don't have to mention their name. What grade are you in?
5th.
5th grade. Do you have anybody in your classroom that always wants to be, hey, here I am, where they're always wandering around sharpening pencils or picking or poking? You have somebody like that?
Yes.
Okay. They're wanting attention. Why do you think they do those things?
I don't know.
Nobody else does either. The main thing is they want attention, and if they can't get it in a good way, they'll get it in another way. Are you an attention seeker, do you think?
No.
Okay, here's the second kind. These are the ones that want to have the power. They want to say, well, I can do it this way, and then I'll do this, and then I'll do this. My little 5-year-old niece, Georgia, says, my mommy sure is mossy, M-O-S-S-Y. She means bossy. I know your mom's not bossy, but do you have any children in your classroom that are bossy?
Yes.
Are you bossy?
Kind of.
Oh, so we're kind of getting into here now. Out of the mouths of babes. So she knew she wasn't an attention seeker, even though she volunteered to come up here. She wasn't seeking attention. She was wanting to please me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and her mom and dad. And then the last kind is the non-motivated. I just don't want to do anything. I don't want to do my homework. I don't want to clean my room. I don't want to go there. You're not like that?
No.
So we have found out directly from the source. Okay, now I'm going to ask you to do the role play, to not be yourself, but to be a child that talks back all the time. Can you play like you are?
Yeah.
You got lots of people that you've seen do that?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. I'm coming over here now. Sage, I told you to clean up your room. Why didn't you do it?
Because I don't want to.
Well, that's no reason. How many times am I going to have to tell you?
Till I die.
Until you die. Well, isn't that a smart... Well, you just go to your room now. You don't have to clean it. You just stay in there, and I'm going to lock the key and die. Who won that conversation? Sage won that conversation, folks. First of all, there are a couple of questions, parents, grandparents, that we ask. We don't know why we ask them. Why would I ask her, what am I going to do with you?
Nothing.
What's the right answer? Nothing. How does she know if I don't? Why would we ask a 5th grader, what should I do, if I don't know what to do? Parents, when you have anything at all that you can help your children with in being proactive, good health, whatever it is, help them to be the best that they can be at every grade level. Take the courage to go into their room and snoop. I know kids hate it, and it doesn't seem right, and it doesn't seem fair, especially for the good kids. But somebody else will be snooping if you're not. Self-actualization. Self-actualization. What does that mean? To actualize something, to actually see it come to pass, to see fruit being born. Who would have ever thought a 260-pound high school dropout, runaway kid that hated the world, that hated her parents, that didn't even want to live, 3 suicide attempts. It was on my 3rd attempt that I had my moment. And I screamed out, "All right, God, if you're really real, go ahead, do something with this miserable life." And I waited for lightning bolts or the room to shake, and it didn't. But I just stopped and threw myself in the bed and cried myself to sleep. And when I woke up, I sat up. And for the first time since I was a little girl who had been in Sunday school memorizing scripture to win a gold star, I remembered, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. I'm saying this out loud. He leadeth me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. And then it came, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. And I started crying again, and I said, is it true? Could it really be true? And I found out it was. Everything changed. Whatever route you're on, whoever you have been placed with, family-wise, work-wise, socially, who would have ever thought anybody would want to hear my stupid story? But the reason is that it gives hope. If you can overcome something in your family, in your life, in your school, with your work, if you can be that person that encourages, you will find out that God will use you. And that's exactly what Genesis 50 says. What the enemy meant for harm, God intends for good. And he'll take all of that stuff that you wallowed in. He'll take all of those people that you hurt, all of those places that you've been, and he will take that stumbling block, and suddenly you're not doing it in spite of, but you're doing it because you went through that, because you faced that trial, because you were an overcomer, because you raised your hand and said, I'm going to tell my story, because you said, I'm going to get involved with these people that are being trafficked, sex-wise, human-wise, whatever it is. For those of you that will volunteer with boys and girls, for those of you that are social workers, counselors, teachers, Sunday school teachers, everything you do, though you may not see the result immediately, give it time. You will be so surprised to see that God used even you. I cease never to be amazed. Look all around you. Find your source. Find your sphere of influence. And where else could God use you? Well, I always end my radio program and end my TV program when I was back in St. Louis with, our lives will touch 100 lives before this day is done. Leave countless marks of good or bad before the setting sun. So let this be the wish I always wish, the prayer I always pray. Lord, let me leave the mark of love on those I touch each day. And that's the best you can do. Leave that mark of love. Thank you. God bless you. And I'm Dr. Peppers, shaking the salt. Thank you.